Welcome on in, Cougar Tracks podcast, powered by KSL Sports.com. Happy Memorial Day to everyone out there watching the show live or listening on the podcast form. No days off. We should sleep in May, but we're not. It's Memorial Day, and it's a ominous one, like about 40-something degrees here in Salt Lake City. Very weird vibes here on this Memorial Day, but nonetheless, it's a little less weird when you've got a new, fresh edition of the Cougar Tracks podcast. You can follow me on Twitter at Mitch_Harper. Subscribe to the show on all major podcasting platforms and the KSL Sports app. Here's what we've got on deck for today's show. My one-on-one interview with BYU basketball assistant coach Kahil Fennell. You'll get to know the coach, what you need to know about him, his journey to basketball coaching, and a whole lot more. Also, Gideon George and a former quarterback at BYU is joining Lincoln Riley and USC. We start things off with Gideon George. Gideon George, no surprise, he's withdrawing from the NBA draft and coming back to BYU. He had a few workouts with some NBA teams, the Denver Nuggets, the Utah Jazz. He's coming back to the Cougs for his final season in Provo. It's a smart thing to do to get insight from NBA teams on what you need to improve on. It's a great move by Gideon to do that. Very smart by him and his team to do that. But the plan all along, after he exited the transfer portal, was to return to BYU. Even Brandon Goebel from JUCO Advocate, when he hopped on to KSL News Radio a few weeks back, he said that Gideon would be returning. So no surprise there. And Gideon George is going to be one of the leaders of this BYU team. Him, Spencer Johnson, Trevin Nell, those are the three guys that I think you look to and say, those are the leaders of the team. Can those three guys reinstate BLRA, best locker room in America? They all have experience in the NCAA tournament. They know what winning looks like at BYU, especially Trevin Nell. He's seen the highs of highs under Mark Pope. He's been there every step of the way. Those have to be the three guys that lead the way. I think the thing is now, everyone on this BYU roster that's coming back, they still got 2 more open scholarships, but everyone wants to be there. Everyone is on board with BYU hoops, with the vision that Mark Pope has, whether it's just 1 year or multiple years, they are on board with the future of this program. Last year, BLRA, best locker room in America, didn't exist. It just didn't. And even Mark Pope said it was a challenging year. And you had coaches then exit. You had players exit the portal. It was a challenging offseason, but as I've said all along, it's going to be better in the long run for BYU basketball. This year's team will be better than last year. Last year's team wasn't good. They just weren't good, especially the last 2 months of the season. But Gideon George helps this BYU team. And, you know, he had some games where he's been excellent. In the NIT, he was fantastic. He had a career-high performance. He's capable of a lot more. And I think Gideon, getting this experience in the NBA was valuable for him to kind of learn and get to see what it takes to become an NBA prospect, what he needs to improve on in his final year at BYU if he wants to have any chance of being in the league. I wouldn't necessarily say he's got the greatest of odds of being in the league, but who am I to say? I mean, Kyle Collinsworth carved out an opportunity in the NBA. Eric Mika had a quick opportunity in the NBA. Elijah Bryant became an NBA champion, and everyone thought when he left early, it was the silliest move ever. So it might be the road less traveled to get to the NBA for Gideon, but he could do it. I mean, he's shown flashes of how versatile he can be as a player. And if he's knocking down the three at a higher clip this year, I think Gideon George has got some potential. And I think that, him coming back, I honestly thought at the end of last season, I thought, okay, BYU might just, Gideon might just move on, go play professionally and whatnot. But Mark Pope wanted Gideon George back. So it's a nice addition for BYU to have Gideon back in the fold for next season. And joining Gideon in the fold is the new BYU basketball assistant coach, Kahil Fennell. Comes to BYU from Louisville, and Fennell's road to BYU is a unique one. And it's his road in general to basketball is a unique one. Here was my one-on-one conversation with the new BYU basketball assistant coach, Kahil Fennell, here on the Cougar Tracks podcast. Joined now by the newest member of the BYU basketball program, Kahil Fennell. And Coach, first off, welcome to BYU.
Thanks so much, Mitch. I appreciate it. I'm really, really excited to be here. It's been an awesome, really, obviously a short time, but it's been a great experience so far.
What did you know about BYU before you accepted this position, BYU basketball in particular?
Yeah, obviously they've had a long storied history. Two national players of the year in Danny Ainge and Jimmer Fredette. Some great players, some great teams. Been in a few different leagues, and they've had success in all of them. So it's been easy to have a lot of respect for them from afar. But as I've been here for the past, 24 hours, you even learn a little bit more. And I think what Coach Pope has done in the last 3 years has been as good a run as they've been on really ever in the program's history. So really just learning more about a little bit more of the more distant past has been awesome. But what Coach Pope has done here recently has been really, really impressive, and just excited to be a part of it.
And you have just kind of a little bit of background on you, wife, 2 kids, right? Upbringing in California, correct?
A little bit of all over the place. I was actually born in Hawaii, and that was my earliest exposure to BYU. My parents were UH season football ticket holders. So my earliest memories actually of sports are BYU coming to town and giving Hawaii the business. And I was not a BYU fan when I was younger. So it's really full circle that I've ended up here. It's actually pretty funny. So, but beyond that, yeah, from Hawaii to New Jersey, actually, and then back to California. So bounced around a little bit in my upbringing.
And you talk, and with your basketball coaching career, you're kind of relatively young in basketball coaching, still less than 10 years in this profession. Maybe explain how you got into basketball coaching because after your playing days, you were not part of the world of basketball. Tell us a little bit about that.
Correct. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's been a little bit circuitous. I mean, I played at the University of Redlands in Southern California. And then after that, I really just wanted to get in the corporate world and start to earn a living and do that, to go that route. So when I was done playing basketball in college and graduated there, I actually sold copiers. Was my first job out of school. And I was living with my mom in Southern California, and I was paying rent to my mom. And that was that was a low point. So fortunately, I had some success there, and I got a job in pharmaceutical sales. And I was able to get promoted from that and go to medical device sales. And I was in medical device sales for 8 years or so. And it was never really fulfilling, but it was kind of a situation where it turned into a golden handcuff scenario. So I felt like I was making too much money to really branch out and do something that I was passionate about. Ultimately, like the last year, I said, forget it. I need to do something that I'm passionate about, at the very least on the side. So I applied on, I think it was monster.com or something like that, for a assistant JV coaching position at a local high school in Northern California, in Oakland. And as fate would have it, the guy that was supposed to be the head coach didn't pass his background check. So I ended up being the head coach while I was selling medical devices. And it was just, frankly, it was just a tremendous experience. Even today, I laugh about it, and it surprises me how fired up I was about it every single day, and how much it consumed my thoughts, and how much the kids meant to me, how much the kids meant to my family, to my wife in particular. And I just decided that's what I wanted to do, and walked away from the medical device industry. And I really, dove into that head first. So fortunately, my wife is a saint, and she supported me every step of the way and threw away a lot for this to become possible. So a little bit different, but it was fun nonetheless.
That's an awesome story. And I appreciate you sharing that. How important are passions to you? Is, I think of people like Kobe Bryant, where he talks about, chasing your passions and things like that. How important are passions to you and your family?
Massive. They're everything. They're everything, I think. And I think we've really kind of walked the walk on that, my wife in particular, where we don't feel that you can be truly operating at your individual capacity if you're not really wholeheartedly pursuing your passions. I think you'll be shortchanging yourself and your future if you're just kind of doing something just to do it, or just for money, or just to make somebody else happy. If you're really going after your passion, you'll be fulfilled, and ultimately you'll be successful. And that's really been our unofficial motto. And it's something that we've really lived by, and my wife really sees eye to eye with me on that. And it's served us well so far.
How valuable was your experience when you did get into basketball? You were at Portland State, then you go to Louisville.
how valuable was that experience with Chris Mack's program and being in the ACC? Just maybe describe what took place there.
Yeah, it's hugely valuable. I think when you look at the progression of my career, going from JV coach to Division II coach to low major at Portland State, and then ultimately to University of Louisville, I think it was eye opening. I just remember Coach Mack was nice enough to show me the arena, the Yum Center, when I first arrived, and I was coming from Portland State, like I said, and I was just so shocked by the size and the magnitude and the beauty of the arena. Where it was really like a wake up call for me, and that obviously that bleeds in everything, the competitiveness of it, just how much it means to people. It's just a very, very different environment. And, I've learned a lot from a basketball sense. I learned a lot from a competitiveness sense, preparation, attention to detail. Coach Mack particularly does a tremendous job with that. So it was an awesome experience for me. Obviously, there's some ups and downs, over those 4 years in Louisville, but wouldn't change it for anything. It was a great time, and we really appreciate the opportunity.
And how did BYU, Mark Pope, when did they get in touch with you and maybe to pursue this opportunity?
Yeah, I think, Chris Burgess is a good friend of mine, and, he never told me he was leaving or anything like that, but just kind of, reading the tea leaves and looking into the future and what could be possible. I felt it could have been an opening and obviously a great opportunity. And then fortunately, Coach Pope and myself have a mutual friend that introduced us, and we just kind of went from there. I think both of us saw a competitive edge in the other, which really appealed to us. And I think, Coach Pope thinks that I fit a need and an opening here, which has been a little bit different from what's been on staff here in the past. And, I'm just thrilled to be here. It's just such a unique place. It's such a unique community and university. The program is fantastic, the basketball program that is. And Coach Pope and Coach Feger and Coach Robinson have done an awesome job over the past 3 years, like I mentioned. And I'm just really fortunate and happy to be here and be amongst them and try to compete for championships.
What role do you feel like you're going to have on the staff? What did Pope lay out for you?
Yeah, I think obviously, especially here in the short term, we're here in the off season and a couple of scholarships that are available. We're all going to be pulling in the direction of recruiting, and that's going to be a big part of my role moving forward and in the future. But right here in the near term, that's going to be a huge part of my focus is recruiting. And then, obviously there's going to be elements of everything, right? I have my hand in the defense and player development, obviously scouts and preparation from that standpoint. But right now in the near term, we're very, very much focused on recruiting, and then we'll move on to player development and getting our guys ready during the summer and moving into the season. So thrilled about that. I think the way Coach Pope runs his program and his attention to detail on things like analytics and big picture stuff. He's just such a bright guy. It's been really, really cool to see him work even over the past 24 hours with he and Cody and Nick Robinson. So all those guys are so sharp, and they're dialed into how we're doing things here. And I can't wait to learn from them and really hit the ground running.
Coach, I'm glad you bring up big picture stuff with Coach Pope, because I feel like since he took over this BYU program, he focuses on a lot of areas that go even beyond basketball. And I know areas off the court have been important to you from your time at Louisville, maybe, in terms of, racial injustices and things like that, you being from an underrepresented community. What does that maybe mean to have a coach that's willing to have outside voices come into the program, speak to BYU players? Because this place, maybe on the outside looking in lacks, diversity, things like that. Does that, mean something to you that working with him?
It means everything to me. And you made a point about, diversity and things like that. And obviously that's special on its own merits. And that's probably another discussion that we could have over the course of many hours. But even just from a basketball standpoint, I think at this level, the high major level, so many coaches are so stuck in their ways and who they've learned from and their mentors and their tree. And Coach Pope is so competent and confident enough to really just look for other solutions and other ways of attacking things and other ways of approaching things. And that's just so unique. And I think that's just a tremendous way to get the most out of a program. Right. And I think you have to be comfortable enough in your own skin to do that. You have to be, confident enough to do that, to where, hey, ask questions. And he's really, really comfortable doing that. And I think he's going to get the most out of the staff and our players and our program moving forward in the future. So, whether it's in the basketball piece, like I just mentioned, or the social justice aspect, or diversity and embracing that, the international piece with our players, Coach Pope wants to win. and whatever that looks like. If that means, a diverse staff, if that means diverse players, if that means, unorthodox recruiting methods or attention to analytics, whatever that looks like, we're going to do everything we can in our power to win.
Do you think winning is possible here at BYU as a Big 12 member?
No question. I and the God's honest truth, I would not be here if it wasn't. I'm hugely confident in Coach Pope and Nick and Cody and what they've accomplished in the past and what we can accomplish in the future. They have a tremendous appetite to recruit. And I think at the Big 12, there's no off nights, right? People think of TCU historically as being kind of a walkover and things like that. And now Jamie Dixon's there and they're going to the tournament, and Desmond Bain's playing in the playoffs. So everybody's really, really talented, and we're going to have to be as talented to really compete night in and night out. And I think what's awesome about that is our staff recognizes that, and they have the energy and the enthusiasm and the want to really recruit and dive into those deep, murky waters of Big 12 recruiting. And I think we're going to be just fine. We have some special aspects about this program, and this.
There you go. That's Kahil Fennell, new BYU basketball assistant coach here on Cougar Tracks. Hope you enjoyed that interview. He's an impressive coach. I think he's going to be a good fit for BYU going forward into the Big 12 era. But that's my interview once again with Kahil Fennell. Some news and notes before we wrap up the show. Former BYU football quarterback Jake Jensen. Remember him? He was a walk-on out of Pleasant Grove, PWO. Left after a one semester, goes to Contra Costa College in California, gets some scholarship offers to Cal. I think UNLV was an option. New Mexico was an option. He commits to New Mexico earlier this month, but now he's going to USC. He's going to be in the QB room with Caleb Williams and the QB3 most likely for Lincoln Riley. Pretty crazy stuff. Jake Jensen going to the Trojans. I thought that was noteworthy. I always thought when he signed as a PWO that he was a good football player. I liked his arm strength. He was a 3-year quarterback, successful, high-level guy, but for whatever reason just didn't get the recruiting attention. It's kind of surprising, and I thought that was a hidden gem that BYU got as a PWO, but he joined the BYU program when there were 6 quarterbacks. He would have been nice this year because he would have added additional depth to that quarterback room. That's a little bit lighter than his previous years, but congrats to Jake Jensen on signing with the men of Troy, USC. I got to say, BYU should be glad they're not playing USC in 2023. That roster, what Lincoln Riley's doing, USC is going to be back in short order. And then finally, Big 12 athletic director meetings are taking place this week in Dallas, and yours truly will be there in Big D. So I'll be there down in Dallas covering all the activities. It'll be Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I will be there down in Texas covering everything that's happening in the Big 12. So all the ADs. Also, we'll have on Friday a special 1-hour KSL News Radio, BYU's Future in the Big 12 show on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM, 1160 AM, and the KSL News Radio app. That'll be on live on radio from noon to 1 this Friday, BYU's Future in the Big 12 Conference, so you don't want to miss that. That'll be coming this Friday from Dallas, live on KSL News Radio, your legacy home of the BYU Cougars. But I'm looking forward to it. It's just these things in the offseason that we've gotten in this routine as BYU media. All right, spring football, then the next big BYU event is media day, and then fall camp. There's none of these extracurricular football conference things because BYU's been an independent. Now that's different. Now there's going to be the Fiesta Crawl in May. There's the Big 12 AD meetings this week. There's just all these cool events, and I'm looking forward to covering it all here on KSL, KSLSports.com, and KSL News Radio. But that's going to do it for this edition of the Cougar Tracks podcast. A little bit of an abbreviated edition because, well, it's a holiday, and I want to take a little bit of a break. So enjoy your holiday, even though it's kind of bad weather here in Utah. Hopefully it's better around the rest of the country. But I'll talk to you next time on Wednesday from Dallas. Big 12 AD meetings. I'll catch you next time here on the Cougar Tracks podcast. It's always powered by KSL Sports.com.